Hey guys, Faint here with the first video in the series I'm calling How to Climb Out of Bronze as a Support. I'm sure you've all heard someone say that it's impossible to carry as a support. Well, if you follow this series, then you'll have a much greater success in future games. In this first video, we'll be talking about the ways to play the different phases of the game and demonstrate the importance of basic and some more advanced support principles: vision, peel, and macro. So let's start off with a look at the early game and see if you can pick out ways that I use vision, peel, and macro to win the game. So you might be wondering, what is macro? Well, it's a concept far too great for a brief description in this video and will require a video of its own. But simply, macro is the big picture, the entire map. Getting advantages on another side of the map when you're somewhere else, or using minions, split push, vision, and a whole range of other things to net global advantages for your team. In this first clip, we see that we didn't need to leash for our jungler, so we go straight to lane and Caitlyn starts last hitting minions. When we notice the Varus and Alistar come to lane after their leash, I immediately start to zone the Varus away from CS and XP. Although I do take a slightly bad trade here, Varus ends up missing 2 minions. The next thing we do is get level 2 before the enemy bot lane, which gives us access to another spell each, so I immediately walk up, flay both champions, and go for a hook on Varus. Sadly, Alistar gets in the way. If I had landed the hook on the Varus, it would have been a free kill as I had Ignite. Then Rammus comes in for a level 2 gank, but I simply flay him away. Early invades get kills, so it's always a good idea for a free first blood. Nobody scouts. But don't level up your CC ability until you're committed to the invade. In this clip, we get first blood onto our Caitlyn and get our lane off to a good start. Here, I find an opportunity to throw a hook onto Jhin. He has a fair few minions that he wants to last hit, so I choose now to engage a fight. Jhin ends up living with next to no HP, but as the clip rolls, Caitlyn gets greedy and decides to flash to secure the kill. The enemy support immediately switches onto the Caitlyn, and I have to use all my defensive tools to keep her alive, and pretty luckily we managed to get the kill onto Malphite. That's why it's important to make sure that you save some defensive tools just in case situations like this arise. Now, as a support player, you probably have more time than anyone else to look at the map and look for opportunities to make plays, especially when you're walking back to lane, as I do here. I'm able to easily react to the play and use my defensive tools to keep Fizz out of harm's way. Look to pressure towers as early as you can and punish people that stay trying to defend them with a dive. But remember to keep your defensive tools to keep your teammates safe if something does go bad. Fiora joins the fight and I use Box and Exhaust to make sure she can't chase us any further. We almost get first tower here when Caitlyn stays and takes a tower shot. When Vi shows up, I have to do all I can to keep Caitlyn alive. When you find yourself without spells or mana, then just use your own body and your auto attacks to do what you can. Here, I do exactly that and we secure another kill. Once the bot lane tower is destroyed, move to another lane to influence your lead there. Start to spread vision across the map using your trinket, control wards, and your upgraded starter item once you've completed the quest. But don't walk into darkness alone, unless you can account for all the enemies. Look at the amount of vision I put down in the enemy's blue side jungle. That allows us to rotate and look for a free mid-outer tower. I'll save some specifics about vision and warding for another video because, as you can imagine, it's quite a complex topic. So if you'd like me to do a really detailed video about vision, leave a like down below. So now we're well into the mid game, look for any opportunity you can to steal away resources from your enemy. In this clip, Miss Fortune and I take away the enemy red buff, and I lantern her out to safety to regroup with our team. The reason I know it's safe to make this play is because I see Xerath hard pushing in the mid lane and know that he can collapse if anything does catch us off guard. As we get towards the end of this game, our jungler gets caught out overextending and a mini skirmish takes place. Again, being a peel support, I use everything I have to keep our carries safe. I use Flay, Hook and the Box to make sure that the enemy bruisers can't get onto our carries. This next clip is another example of us being able to take away resources from our opponents, as well as play around the vision that I've already secured for our team to find a favourable team fight. We're able to see enemies approaching from all angles, and I bait Darius into chasing me in towards Miss Fortune's ultimate. This extended skirmish lets us pick up 4 kills and puts us in good position to take the inner turret in the top lane. So after taking the outer tower in the mid lane, we transition to look at the Rift Herald. In order to safely take this objective, we have to secure vision control around the area. You can see me doing that here with the use of these wards and my red trinket. We start to take the Herald, and eventually we see Vi show up on the wards I've already placed. I then move to zone her away. Fiora then walks into the area that we know they have no vision over, and we quickly pick up the kill. This shows the importance of vision control when securing objectives like Rift Herald, Barons and Dragons. Not only did we see when Vi was approaching, we also saw when Fiora was approaching and were able to collapse efficiently. Now, with our newly acquired Rift Herald, we go top lane and start pushing down towers. Remember, I already have vision control around the river and around the blue buff area. I place a control ward at blue buff for good measure. We can keep pushing as we know that some of the enemies are dead and we have vision around the area they could flank from. Veigar and Malphite try to defend, but with good target prioritization, we're able to kill those two as well and continue on into the base. So here's what I mean when I talk about macro. Currently, most of the enemy team are answering the Xerath's push in the mid lane, which means Caitlyn and I can freely take the inner tower in the bottom lane. Since nobody comes to answer us, we keep on pushing. Eventually, Alistar does show, but he's alone, so we punish him trying to defend his tower with a hook and flay combo into damage from Caitlyn, making him regret his decision. And here's what we mean when we talk about peel. Literally, I do everything I possibly can to keep our teammates alive. The Lantern Shield and the Guardian Rune from Thresh keeps Malzahar alive, and I use my hook and flay tools to CC the enemy long enough for Xerath to clean up. And here, as the Nexus is almost down, the enemy team starts to respawn, and I have to do everything I possibly can to peel our carries to make sure that they don't die and we end up losing the game. An exhaust slows Alistar, and a hook kills Varus. I use my flays and hooks to make sure that Alistar can't get anywhere near Malzahar or Xerath, and eventually he goes down. Corki respawns and uses the package to kill Xerath, then I keep him CC'd long enough for Malzahar and Miss Fortune to whittle him down. In the late stages of the game, you use pushing lanes and minions to pull enemies apart. Here, in the top lane, there's minions crashing in to the Nexus turrets. At the same time, there's a large wave of minions around the middle inhibitor, meaning that our team can send 5 men to the bot lane to take down the final tower and the third inhibitor. Without the pressure in the other 2 lanes, we would not be able to pull this play off, as they could simply send 5 people to defend, and the outcome would depend on who team fought better. Through the utilisation of pushing side lanes and mid lanes, we are able to ensure that no matter what happens, we always end up ahead. A few final notes for you to take away from this video are: spam ping objectives. Players in low elo often require someone to take charge and give them direction when it comes to map plays and objective focus. So if you can see an opportunity for a free dragon or baron or tower or inhibitor, then spam ping and walk that way. More often than not, your teammates will listen and follow. Next, be prepared to mute teammates if they give you reason to. Never respond to toxicity and negative behaviour. Not only will it put you on tilt, but it's also a distraction if you're constantly reading all chat. Also, be a KDA player. I know there's a lot of memes around this phrase, but seriously, A KDA player is someone that values their KDA. They don't die. Stay safe in all phases of the game and don't be the reason that the enemy team gets ahead. Keep waves pushing and take CS that your carries aren't. I know firsthand as a support player that gold is hard to come by. So if your carries aren't farming a lane that's pushed into a tower of yours, then by all means go and take a few creeps for yourself, but don't leave your team alone too long. As we've explained in this video, pushing lanes is so important, so if you can be the guy that gets that lane pushing, you can look to create cross-map plays further down the line. A really important one that's often overlooked in low elo is to adapt your item builds. Don't just build the same thing every game because you saw it on pro builds or Mobafire. If you're against a full AD team, don't bother going Mikael's or Locket. Instead, look for items like Knight's Vow or Frozen Heart. If the enemy has a lot of CC, then Mikael's Crucible's a perfect item, and maybe even think about taking Mercury Treads as a boots choice. Lastly, don't chase kills. Turn on objectives. If you can see an enemy teamo on low HP running away, don't bother chasing him, he's not worth it. Think about how much gold that teamo will be worth, and think about how much gold 2 towers and inhibitor or more is worth. I just want to thank you guys all so much for watching, and like, comment and subscribe for more League of Legends support content.